Very dear students and my dear audience worldwide. Today we are going to talk about a very important topic, that is language, power, and ideology. That's a sensitive and important topic because we always speak language, use language, and through language we form our ideologies, and as a result of that, power is assumed, power is created and generated. So language is helpful in creating power, and power is helpful in designing language. So let's see how does it work all together. So the topic is going to be language, ideology, and power. And when we go further, we can see that first of all, we have a type of introduction that says that in discourse that ideologies are transmitted and meanings and values are learned and taught. So it means that actually what we are going to do when we are following the discourse at that time, we are creating meanings with the help of our ideology and with the help of the power, and this thing continue we continue to learn in our discourse analysis. So in the same way, if we proceed further, we shall be finding some more details which say that age of great change we are living in, it's an unstable age, and therefore constantly it is happening that the power is being shaped and reshaped, and as a result cultural practices are taking place, and these cultural practices are bringing social change also. And because of that, certain practices of language use are also changing, and that is why ideologies of discourse become very much important, because they teach us how to acquire that, how to learn or change our ideologies. In the same way, if we still go one more step, we will find the definition by Wardock, 1995. Wardock says that this discourse is a form of select social action which is determined by the values, conventions, social practices influenced by power structure, and it goes to express ideological biased opinions. It means, in fact, that whatever discourse and language is going to be, it is shaped and reshaped by our imagination, by our practices, and by our conventions. It takes place, and because of that, all social practices continue in the same way, and we keep on learning from the members of the group, from the people around us, and that discourse is formed by us in a powerful way, and ideologies are constructed. This is what all this thing is going to be. For example, we can see that language and discourse have been talked about by Van Dyke also in 2000. He says that we people watch TV, we read newspapers, and we participate in every type of discussions. And in this way, when we do all these things, we learn the ideologies which are being propagated, because we can see that in the newspapers is political propaganda, and in that way we also acquire the same kind of qualities when we undergo through all these things like newspapers, TV, and conversations, because the ideologies with which we are present, these are not present in us by birth, these are not innate, that are acquired by us, and as a result we are able to construct a type of mental model by following these social events. And in the same way, we can also say that these things, when we do, they bring us very close to CDA, which means actually power relations. For example, there is the matter of critical awareness of these relations. So CDA all the time goes to discuss what is the connection between this power and the language skills which we are using. The same relationship can be discovered between ideology and applied spheres of both applied linguistics and second language education. So in that way, CDA continues to work on language also, on power relation also, and as a result, the ideologies which work behind all that, CDA works on it. And as a result, CDA itself becomes very much important. That is why Fairclough in 1995 said that development of people's critical awareness of language. We try to give certain things through critical awareness of language, that we develop it critically and try to engage the people in order to understand what are the developments taking place, which developments are critically very much important. So Fairclough talks about the critical awareness of language that the people should have at all cost. And as a result, language and discourse play a very important role. For example, when we read the newspapers, it teaches us, to the reader especially, the ideological stance of the newspaper towards the readers. And as a result, it helps us form our attitudes, priorities, and values. And in that way, language is being used in this case also in order to convey the attitudes to the people, and understanding of these newspaper articles. All these things continue to do the things with our language, that we learn to follow those discourses which are propagated by the powerful, and that analysis helps us understand what is the ideology, what is the power which is being followed. And that is why, if we analyze these discourses in the classroom, it would be a best practice definitely to understand that role of discourse, of language, of critical discourse analysis, of power, of ideology. Haberman, for example, says that CDA is an interdisciplinary tool that exposes inequality and injustice. So, according to him, this CDA works to expose and open wherever the inequalities are going on, injustices are going on. It tries to mediate between the ideology and power, and it also helps us understand the problem generated by this relationship. So, in this way, whatever we talk, we try to convey the meaning, and that meaning is identified by our immediate social, political, and historical conditions. So, in that way, as a result, according to Fisk, our words are never neutral. We are using language, we are using words in order to understand what are the ideologies, what are the powers which are always in our mind when we do so. So, as a result, it means that there is a constant relationship and language can never be neutral, as is claimed by Fisk in 1994. And similarly, Henry and Tator in 2002 also talked about CDA. They claimed that we never speak or read or hear other words without being conscious of the underlying meaning of the words. It means whatever the language is used by us, we know what is the meaning it's going to produce. For example, the words of those in power are most of the time taken as evident truths, and the words which are spoken by the people who are not in power, they are most of the time dismissed as irrelevant, inappropriate, or without substance. So the value of the words and their being considered something important is depending upon the power. If you are a powerful person, definitely your words will be given importance like the truth. But if you are not powerful, nobody is going to listen to you even. So that is the serious teaching to the common people, as is claimed by Henry and Tatar. Similarly, Thompson in 2002 talked about CDA by saying that it's a critical approach to discourse analysis, seeks to link the text with the underlying power structures in society. So Thompson has divided the whole thing into two parts. One is the micro level, which is the text created and generated in the society, and then society itself, the power structures of society, which according to him is the macro level, and the discursive practices which are done in order to create all these things, that is the critical analysis, that's the critical discourse analysis. In the same way, this critical discourse analysis interprets and acts upon the readers or listeners depending on their rules, norms, and mental models of specially acceptable behavior and background of knowledge. This is said by McGregor in 2003. It means that even the things which we are normally practicing, they are influenced by certain behaviors, certain kind of messages or the rules. So it's never neutral, as we have discussed in the past slide as well. Luke 1997 talks about CDA, that CDA focuses on how social relations, identity, knowledge, and power are constructed through written and spoken text in communities, schools, the media, and the political arena. It means that nothing is going to escape from the clutches of this CDA thing, according to many of the people who are being discussed here. Everyone focuses that CDA tries to analyze the language with respect to the relations of the people among them, the identity of the people, whatever they claim, and the knowledge which they possess according to them, and the power which they have. They construct certain discourses, and as a result, the Syria goes to analyze all these things in the same manner, in the same fashion. And with the continuity, we can also talk about further things by saying and connecting it with ideology. As for example, when we talk about ideology and think what it's going to be, ideology is a system of ideas which constitutes and pilots the large power blocks of our society. Language is a medium of ideological forces. It serves to legitimize relations of organized power. So one can see that even ideology is the kind of system which is working in the society, of course, but it is the language. The language is the medium through which the ideological forces work, and so in that way, ideology and language become very much related to each other. Same is the case with the power belief system or social representation of some kind. This means that they are not personal beliefs, but beliefs shared by the groups. This has been propagated by Van Dyck. Van Dyck says that it's not the belief of one person which is important, but it's the belief formed from the group attitudes, norms, and values, and the knowledge shared in the group, because of which the belief which is formed is a group belief, and as a result, it becomes very much important. It means that even this belief system is the power, which is the social representation of specific groups. Ideology, according to Van Dyck, is the kind of ideologies are special forms of social cognition shared by social groups formed the basis of social representation and practice of group members, including their discourse, which at the same time serves as the means of ideological production, reproduction, and challenge. So Van Dyck also goes to ultimately claim the same thing which has been claimed by many other writers and theorists of critical discourse analysis. According to him, also, ideologies are special forms of social understanding and identity which comes from the social groups or the group members with whom we talk or discourses, and as a result we share the ideological kind of things with the other members of the society, and that ideology therefore becomes the source of production and reproduction of the language, and because of that the ideology is being promoted. And power also is one of the important things in the critical discourse analysis, as is the interplay of power, ideology, and language is concerned. For example, here we see that power is conceptualized by both in terms of asymmetries between participants in discourse events and in terms of unequal capacity to control how texts are produced, distributed, and consumed in particular socio-cultural contexts. So power also goes to define which is the group, what are the people, what kind of ideology they possess, and what type of power they possess, and accordingly they will be speaking. So discourses come from the power, and power is generated from the ideology, and all these things keep on interplaying with each other in order to let the people know more and more. In the same way, Wardock in 1989 said that CDA chooses the perspective of those who suffer most and critically analyze those in power, those who are responsible, and those who have the means and the opportunity to solve. So one can say that CDA helps us understand where are the inequalities, who are the powerful people, and how the suffering of the people is taking place because of this power thing of the power people, and how much they are responsible for that. And is there any opportunity, according to Wardock 1989, that if these problems can be solved, suffering can be eased? This type of critical discourse analysis keeps on happening, and according to Wardock, CDA helps us a lot in this matter. So here, people, we are reaching to the close of our whole speech, and the end of this speech says power is maintained through language. So language and power are interconnected with each other. So that was all about the relationship and the interplay of power, ideology, and language. How language is generated because of the ideologies, and the ideologies are promoted because of language, and how the power structures are created, and how language goes to maintain all these things as well. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you in some next video. If you like it, do not fail to hit the like button and the subscribe button also. So see you in some next video.